get growing. I'm Jeff Mason, your host. In the greenhouse again on a lovely February morning. We're going to have some fun today. I'm going to make a neat plant, or if Laura can, I don't know, can we pan up, Laura, and get a shot of what we're going to make today? Because I think it's kind of fun. We're going to make a cheater Kokedama ball for an outdoor hanging basket. So that should be a lot of fun. It's actually really easy. I saw this. There's a great garden in Pennsylvania called Chanticleer. They do all kinds of really innovative stuff. If you've never been down to the Philadelphia area, I recommend you go. You will not be disappointed. And they made some neat hanging baskets, sort of big Kokedama balls, using basically wire baskets. So I thought, well, why not? So we built one yesterday, worked out great. We're going to build one today. And they use the same plant. Raphinophora, the miniature Swiss cheese plant, miniature Monstera, if you want to call it that. It's a really vigorous little plant, and it'll grow probably 3 feet over the course of a summer. So it's a neat one for the planter. So we're going to do it today, and quite honestly, you can use anything in these planters. As I saw the planter and tried making it, I thought, boy, there's a lot of different things you can do. Fill them with tropicals, I think, is probably one of the cooler ways to use them. And then you can hang them underneath the trees and that, and sort of give the garden kind of a tropical-y feel. So that's what we're going to do. I built this one yesterday with sphagnum moss in the wire baskets. And you can certainly do it that way. It's probably the most expensive way to do it. How we're going to do it today is we're going to use wire frames and cocoa liners that you can pick up here in Southern Ontario at the Dollar Tree. $1.50 for the liner, $1.50 for the frame. $3, you got everything you need. We need 2 of them, so $6, can't go wrong. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the hangers off the baskets. Probably won't use them. Well, I didn't in that one, so we won't use them in this one. Well, you probably could reuse them, but anyway, we'll just set them aside. And I thought I'd use the cocoa liner just to keep it a little cheaper, and just to try it out. The one up here that's hanging that we made out of the moss worked out really, really well. Just occasionally you can get wire baskets that have really, really wide gaps, and it's hard to have the moss hold in those wide gaps. Then you might need to line the basket with chicken wire before you use it, which is fine. I'm tempted to make a really big one, and then I would use chicken wire for that. So we've got our 2 baskets here, and they're going to fit together like this, sideways. And that's how we're going to hang them. So I initially ever thought, to make a ball like that, you'd do it this way, but that makes it really difficult to put it together. Putting it together sideways worked out really, really well and was quite easy. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get a couple of zip ties, cable ties, whatever you want to call them. And I'm going to put together the basket in 2 spots. Just side by side here at the bottom. So that'll give us a little bit of a hinge to work with. So there we go, we can now hinge them up. Makes it really easy. Get rid of our bits of plastic there. So then we're going to put the liners in. just as if we were making hanging baskets. No different, really. Like I say, these are the cocoa liners from the Dollar Tree. And they more or less fit these baskets perfectly. They're made for them. They sell them separately, but that's okay. For $3 a basket, you can't really go too wrong. Now, what happens with this cocoa fiber? I'm using it dry because I think it's just going to be easier to work with. Once it gets wet, it starts to puff up too. So similar to the moss, it'll get all puffy and fluffy as it gets moisture attached to it. But we're not going to put the moisture to it right now. If you were using the sphagnum moss, then it comes out of the bag very dry, and you need to soak it first. Let it absorb as much water as it can, and then squeeze out the excess. But you can use that. But sphagnum moss is getting really expensive these days, so I mean, we used half of a 40-liter bag to make that, so we probably used close to $20 worth of moss. So, you know, if you like the look of moss, it is a little bit more natural than the cocoa fiber, but it'll fluff up. Then hopefully there'll be enough plants in there that you won't see the basket as much. So I think the cocoa fiber is going to work really well. So we've got our 2 cocoa fiber pieces lined. We can put them together, and there's going to be the start of our basket right there. So very simple. Now all we got to do, get our pre-moistened soilless mix that we use for everything. It's a Pro Mix, Berger mix. I don't think Berger packages their mixes. Oh, but you can get it. Yeah. Usually you see Pro Mix in the stores. It's exactly the same stuff, basically. Commercial soilless potting mix. So we're going to fill them completely full, even a little over full. We're probably going to lose some of the soil as we put it together, so that's okay. Kind of overfill it. Firm it down. Not packing it too much, but firming it in there. Kind of overfill it a little bit. Now we're going to plant it at this stage, at least with our initial plant, because we want our Raphidophora here to be at the top. So I've got some rooted cuttings. I'm not sure how fully rooted they are. Oh yeah, they got roots coming down to the bottom of the pot, so we're good. So we're going to take those. Then what I'm going to do is go underneath the frame. I'm not just going to lay it on top and pinch them together. I'm going to go underneath this frame and then have it into the planter. This way, when I put the 2 pieces together, it's not going to get squished between them. It's between the cocoa fiber and the wire frame, so it's not going to get damaged or squished when I put the 2 halves together. The spider plants I've got, I just potted these up. So these are just spider plant babies that haven't even started to really grow and root yet. Right off the plant, so they're going to go in after. So we're already at the stage now for the moment of truth where we got to put these 2 halves together. So we kind of do it quick, get them together, and there we go. Very straightforward, very easy. Tuck in the cocoa, and then we get our little zip ties out, and we just start zip tying the 2 baskets together. You can even get these zip ties at the dollar store, so if you're looking for a cheap and easy basket to make, this is certainly it. I think we've probably got about maybe $8 in it. So that's pretty awesome. Put lots of these zip ties in all the way around so you don't have any big gaps through.
And are you planting them now, Jeff, so that...
Well, you know what, I'm planting these ones now, especially because they're tropical, so I want them to get growing, and then we'll transfer them outside. The one trick to watering is going to be watering them indoors. What I would probably do is, sit them on a pot maybe. Well, grab me that pot that's sitting right there. That might be a big enough. That might be the right diameter. I got an old mum pot here that I bought a fall mum in. It's a 10-inch pot. So it might just be perfect. We'll try it out. So we're going to get the zip ties all the way around. Tighten them up. As we go, you can make sure the cocoa fibers in the right spot. And like I said, as I did the one, I thought, boy, I can think of a lot of different things to put in these. For climbers, you could do annual vines, really anything. A climber in the top, so it climbs up the hangers, and it gives you sort of that jungle vining kind of look to it. In the side fillers, you could do pothos cuttings. You could do, we're using spider plants. Anything really. You could have a lot of fun with it and make up all sorts of different ones. We're actually going to add something to this one too that's a little bit different as well.
So Jeff?
Yep.
Your favorite Freddy is on.
He's been dying to ask a question. Okay.
He wants to know, what is your favorite plant ever?
My favorite plant ever? That is a very difficult question because I tend to not get too emotionally attached to plants. I don't know if I have a favorite. I really don't. I can pretty much, respect the merits of just about any plant. Even something like goutweed, for example. I mean, I can even appreciate, what made it such a popular plant and what, why so many people use it. The fact that it's invasive is just sort of a sad sideline. If there was one plant that I could have, I don't know. Might be an easygoing house plant like my Monstera Thai constellation, maybe. That might be one plant that if I had to sort of limit it to it, that I would keep with me, I suppose. All right, so here we are. We've got all the way around. It's the tedious part. It always takes a few minutes. Get it right up to the top here. So there we go. Now we've got our Kokedama ball basically almost finished. Doesn't take long at all. I'm gonna.
Goes with the faux everything. Faux. Now you have faux Kokedama. You don't have to
That's
use
right.
like dirt and
Faux
clay.
Kokedama.
Dirt and clay and string and moss and.
This is a lot easier than tying balls of string together around moss and clay soil. That's for sure. But the look that you achieve is going to be basically exactly the same, but on a larger scale. I mean, think if you took two 18-inch hanging baskets and did this, you know, maybe we'll build one for the summer. I think that might be awesome. It might look great in the garden. So we'll get rid of those, the zip tie garbage.
So Jeff, Terry wants to know.
Yeah.
If you were making these for the summer, when should you think about starting them?
Well, it depends a little bit about what you're going to do with them. If you were going to plant, I don't even know, let's say a Lophispermum vine or a Thunbergia vine, or something like that in the center, you could just hit the garden center early and get these started late April, early May. Especially if you're using fast-growing annual things, you could have them going and then harden them off outside and then put them where they're going. So it really doesn't matter when you start them. Like I say, we're going to start these ones now and watch them as they grow, and they're going to be sort of a little bit more mature, but generally slower growing things. So I think you could really probably start them just about any time. If you don't have places indoors to put them, make it a Mother's Day weekend plan kind of thing, you know. Then you've got them put together. They might not be ready to go in their permanent spot yet, but you can have them on your porch, patio, you know, in a sheltered spot, getting rooted in a little bit. And they'd be great. But I mean, really, like, I just put, like, look at, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It was not much to deal with. Anyway, Laura brought me this bass pot over, and I'm thinking, if you're making them now and you want to get them going indoors, you know, sit them in a pot like that. For watering, what you're going to do with them is you're going to take them and you're going to dunk them right in a pot full of water. Put them in your sink, let them soak up a lot of moisture. Remember, we haven't watered this yet, so we're going to have to do that. But we're not quite done with our plants yet, so we've got to get our spider plants in. And now, if you use moss, you can just poke through the moss and you're good to go. But with these ones, we're using the cocoa fiber, so you can actually, if we're using sort of, you know, barely rooted spider plants, you could even just pull that cocoa fiber back and stuff those spider plants in there, get them in contact with the soil, and that's all you need to do. Spider plants are the best plant for shady basket fillers that you'll ever get. We even use them to edge garden beds and stuff in the shade, fillers in containers. If you've got a spider plant, over the next few weeks, cut all the babies off, get them rooted, use them in all your shade planters. They really work well. So we're going to have another spot down here where there's a wrinkle in the cocoa fiber. Then I'm just going to take that spider plant and I'm just going to tuck it in there, pull the cocoa fiber up back around it, and we're good to go. So we basically duplicated what we did up there, with one exception, and we'll talk about them another day. But one of my favorite plant groups are the bromeliads. And there's a lot of these miniature Neoregelia bromeliads out there. This is Super Fireball. It's generally an easy one to get. And they have this really great spreading growth habit. So here's the old rosette. It's flowered and is now on its way out. But as it matures, a couple of pups start to grow at the base. In a lot of bromeliads, those pups stay tight to the plant. But in these miniature Neoregelias, they come out on a stolon. So they come out on these long stems. And it makes them really easy to propagate and really easy to tuck into other containers. So what we're going to do is we're going to detach them from the parent. I need a bit heavier scissors for that. We're going to detach them from the parent. Should have had my seconders here, but anyway. So this parent now has bloomed. You can see it's dying. It's on its way out. It's done. It goes in the compost. But what we've got is we've got these wonderful little pups on a stolon. So they will grow roots, and where they're going to grow roots is right from the base of this rosette. And they're also going to send out over the summer a couple of new shoots to increase. So the neat thing with those is they're easy to stick into the cocoa. We're just going to poke a little hole, just like that, and we're going to take those Neoregelia bromeliads and just tuck them right in, and they're going to root into the basket. So we'll do the other one here. Now this one actually had another pup that grew here, then it's died away and then send off another one. It may or may not send off any more from there, not likely, but we're going to use that to anchor it in. So we're going to do the same. Make that hole there.
You can't just poke through that cocoa fiber.
You can't just, the cocoa fiber's really, really tight at this stage, so you can't just poke through it. That's the one plus of using moss in baskets like this, is you can just poke through that moss, but the cocoa fiber you can't. So you've got to make holes, or if you want to put a plant in with roots, cut a slit in them and then put the plant in. But these guys, oh, a little bit more. Whoops. There we go. So we're just going to twist him, tuck him right in there. We can support him by the frame, and that'll hold. Then all we need to do is grab our dollar store hanger, and there we go. Fake Kokedama for the outdoor garden. We've only used 5 plants. You could fill this with plants right from the start and get a very full look. I'm thinking of adding probably maybe some Tradescantia cuttings in here, because they're going to grow very vigorously. They'll root into the fiber, cover the ball a bit more, but you get the idea. We could do one plant in this and let it go. We could do a plant in a trailer, but there we go. Now, as far as watering this, now that we're at this stage, get a bucket, get your sink, fill it up with water, put your basket in it, leave it there for half an hour, 45 minutes, let it soak up as much water as it wants, and then empty the water out of the bucket and then let it drain, because it's going to drain a lot. This one, we did this yesterday, the one up top here, gave it a good soak, and now it's sitting just fine. There's a lot of moisture retention. There's a fair bit of soil there, so it won't need to be watered regular, like every day or anything like that. Probably a good sink soak once a week, I would think, would be good. Hang it up and just enjoy it and get it outside when you can. I think it's an awesome treat. I want to make more of these things. And in another upcoming week, we're going to look at another different way of utilizing something out of the garden to make a hanging basket, if you will. But this was a fun, easy, I couldn't believe how easy the project was actually. So give it a try. Hit the dollar stores or just getting their gardening stuff in if you're looking for the little wire baskets. But great and easy. It's fun, simple.
And you can look like Chanticleer.
And you can look like Chanticleer, like you're the greatest container gardener of all times. Perfect.
So a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Sophie wants to know if you'll have those bromeliad fireballs No. Super Fireball?
This
For
one is
sale.
Super Fireball. Yeah, we will. We've got our stock plants are pumped like crazy, as well as a lot of other dwarf bromeliads. I've got kind of built up quite a collection of them. So maybe in an upcoming show we'll look at propagating bromeliads and how to manage their growth habit. It's a little different from other plants. So we'll talk about them soon. But yeah, we'll have dwarf bromeliads available this spring for sure. Yeah.
And Cheryl says someone told her that you don't have to root geraniums in water. First, you can just root them in the soil to regrow from last year's plants.
You know what? 100%. Rooting in water is an easy thing. A lot of plants will root very well in water. I'm going to get Laura to turn the camera around, and I'll just show you our setup for rooting cuttings. We'll just do a little camera switcheroo here, seeing as we're sitting right beside it. So what we've got on our shelf here, so this is a light stand in the greenhouse. It just adds a little bit of extra light so to extend the day length. Right now we've got a few things on here. Underneath, this is a 4-foot heat mat. Right there. The controller for it's right here. The temperature in Fahrenheit, it's 72 degrees. Just add some gentle bottom warmth. Especially in the greenhouse, it gets cool in here at night, but we want optimum rooting temperatures in our soil. So the heat mat warms the soil enough so that we're at sort of the optimum temperature for rooting cuttings. So we'll take off the humidity lid, and you can see this one happens to have a bit of a mixed bag of stuff in it. And we are actually rooting directly into the same soilless mix that we use. This is a Pelargonium Maple Gray, one of my favorite pelargoniums. Got the best lemon scent ever. And we root right into the exact same mix that we just made that Kokedama Ball with. 70% peat moss, basically, about 30% perlite for drainage. And with a plant like a geranium or pelargonium, you need to be a bit careful. Doing them in water is doable. And we've actually even hydroponically grown some in the past that way. But they are sort of a semi-succulent plant, so you need to watch that. So we've always done them right into this. And then in most cases, you can do them in a 2.5-inch pot like this. They can grow, fill it out, and then you can transplant them right into the garden out of this pot. You're saving another step from going from water to a pot. So we've got a few pelargoniums in there. There they are there. I don't know if they've got... Actually, these have been on the heat table for less than 2 weeks. And look at that. Rooted. Ready to go. Awesome. That's what warm soil does with your cuttings. We use a little bit of rooting hormone, warm soil, good light, good humidity. But now that this pelargonium has rooted, it will come out of the humidity tent. I may leave it on the heat table and let it stay warm, but it'll come out of the humidity because it doesn't need it anymore. These begonia leaves that haven't done anything yet, they're going to stay under the heat and the humidity. These helichrysums the same. This cool little plant is a climbing solanum julianum with black fuzzy leaves. They rooted like crazy. They're ready to come out of the heat tent too. So we'll tackle that little project off camera.
Do you use rooting hormone with your pelargonium cuttings?
We do. Rooting hormones are great. We usually use the powdered ones. ProMix makes one called Stim Root, and there's a few different ones out there. We use the sort of the weakest strength most of the time, which is a 0.1% IBA rooting powder. It simply looks just like that. It's just like baby powder. What the rooting powders can do for you is aid in the hormones that make roots grow, and they can also have a bit of an antifungal property to them as well. Fungus in the heat trays or in the soil or whatever is usually the biggest problem with cuttings rooting. If they take too long, a fungus will get in there and it'll kill the cutting. So you get a little bit of antifungal protection with the rooting hormone too. So we use it. We don't use it for things like tradescantias and stuff like that because they root like crazy. But for things that might take a little longer, we will use the rooting hormone. So,
but you don't use rooting hormone, or do you, for starting seeds?
For starting seeds, no. No, we just use, again, the same soilless mix. For starting seeds, they're going to germinate well, be fine. For things that like warmth when you're germinating, like peppers, they go on the heat mat. For things like perennials, they might just sit in the greenhouse in a cool spot, or they might go right outside, and we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. So that's what we're doing. I hope that answers in a long way your do we put the geraniums in water question, but that's what we do. Do we have any more questions, Laura?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't discovered it now, you will soon. All of our videos now, while we do this on Facebook, all of our videos will be transferred to our YouTube channel. The dog needs to stop eating the container, the lid here. All of our videos will be transferred to our YouTube channel. So look us up on YouTube if you want to catch any old episodes or rewatch the one we just did. They'll all be on the Mason House Gardens Let's Get Growing YouTube channel. Sign up and be a subscriber, and if I get enough subscribers, I may make a couple of bucks. Who knows? Also, if you're traveling this year, please know our Scotland trip is sold out. We are taking a couple of waiting list people for our Scotland trip in August. We have a few spots left for our May trip to the Chelsea Flower Show. It is going to be an outstanding trip. Go to masonhousegardens.com. Have a look at the itinerary. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Jeff at masonhousegardens.com or Marjorie at masonhousegardens.com. We are traveling with Paul Zammit again this year, so you get great guides and lots of horticultural knowledge as you go along with these trips, and we've got a great list of gardens for that one in May. And of course, the Chelsea Flower Show is the ultimate. I'm looking so forward to seeing it. Haven't been there yet. So it is a bucket list thing. So have a look at those trips, and we'll leave you there, and we'll see you next time on Let's Get Growing.